All right, in today's lesson, we talked a lot about how nonfiction authors are going to use methods that help organize their text and make it engaging and understandable for readers. And when we think about these nonfiction texts, these nonfiction features, we want to think about how they either help us visualize information or they're helping us navigate information. And so I thought we would go through this chart real quick and just think about whether these were navigators or visuals. Some of them may really not fall in either one of those categories, but so we'll skip those. So a headings are probably definitely going to help us navigate. But a chart and a diagram and a label, those are all going to help us visualize. We haven't seen those yet in any of our texts so far, but those three things would help us kind of visualize the parts of something or a visual representation of like a lot of data, like numbers, and kind of makes everything concise and makes everything easy to see how a picture would represent it. All right, today we did do captions. So captions are underneath those pictures, and so I would say that definitely they're probably part of the visual group. They're going to help us understand what the pictures are showing, maybe giving additional facts that were not in the text, or a quick way to glance at what's going on in that picture so that you know, oh, do I want to read this page? I want to know more about what's happening in this picture. So yeah, I'm going to read this page. Definitely would help engage a reader. All right, today we also had maps. Maps are great visuals for helping us see how that fire was spreading through the city and how widespread it was. It also showed the relationships of where people were in the city. So as you're reading through this story, remember, this was more of a literary nonfiction. And so he's telling the story of these people who lived and told the tale of this disaster. And so it was kind of interesting to see, oh, when I read about Claire, she's over here, but when I read about Mrs. O'Leary, she's over here. All right, so we talked about subheadings on Monday. I think that would be more of a navigator, helping you see where, kind of helping you predict what information is coming next in a text. Text box we haven't had very much yet. They're going to be kind of like little chunks of text to the side. I would put that in the visuals, maybe, or the non-category. Doesn't go. A timeline is definitely visual. We did that in one of the books this week, the oceanography book. So that visual, we read about all those events in long paragraphs, but then that visual timeline puts that information in 6 tiny chunks so we can see the relationship of how long it was between this event and this event. Bold or italics type, we saw that this week with the word organism in that oceanography book. And we also saw different types of text and fonts in the ape book. And so that might be just a type of visual reference that kind of makes something pop, makes your eye attracted to it so that it wants to see, ooh, what's that fancy text about? Or, ooh, it's red. Let me read this. Red is important. Or a lot of times we'll see things highlighted yellow because it really pops to our eye, especially on a page of black and white text. Table of contents, we saw that in a few of our books this week. And so that's a good navigator for our readers whenever we want to organize the information into groups and categories. That reader will know exactly which section of the book has which information, and also whether or not that information appeals to them as a reader. Today we had an index, and so that index is definitely a navigator. If I'm interested in just certain parts of the text versus other parts, then I can use the index to help me go back and search for just 1 or 2 pieces of information, especially if I've got a super long book like this. then I want to be able to find quickly just that one or two little bits of information, then that index is going to help me navigate to those pages quickly, so I don't have to read the whole text. And finally, a glossary. We had that in our oceanography book this week. And so that glossary gives definitions for words. So that is going to be a visual representation of words that we might not know, or words that authors think we might have trouble with. And we talked about how vocabulary is kind of in those tiers, and that when we're writing, we're going to really think about domain-specific words, words that just go with things about fire or apes or oceanography. And then using those, making those words stand out in print so that your reader can also use that glossary to help them figure out what those words mean in the context of a book. All right, so to respond to this lesson today, I want you to add a private comment to the assignment. This is how I'm going to take attendance for today. And I really want you to respond with a type of text feature that you think as a reader you would be most interested in using. Which one do you think is most important to a reader? As you've read hopefully you've read a whole bunch of nonfiction books this week, which ones stand out to you? Which of these features do you definitely see yourself using in a nonfiction text? All right, so in the private comments, tell me a nonfiction text feature that you feel like is most important, and explain why you think that text feature either appeals to readers and helps engage them, or it's going to appeal to them because it's going to make them understand the text better. So tell me why you think that one is appealing and engaging, or why you think that one helps make the text more understandable to a reader. All right, I look forward to reading your answers. Thank you for working so hard this week, and I will see you next week.